Now we shall study nested interval theorem. The statement of the theorem is, for each n belongs to I, let In be closed interval an comma bn, non-empty closed bounded interval of real numbers, such that this is the condition. I1 contains I2, means I2 is subset of I1 contains I2 contains I3 and so on. In general, In contains In plus 1 and this is up to infinity. This is first condition A that we have written, and the second is B statement or condition is limit n tends to infinity of bn minus an, or this is also the length of the interval bn minus an, which is equal to limit n tends to infinity length of in, and that is 0. As n becomes large and large, the difference between an and bn becomes 0. That is the meaning, length of in becomes 0. Then intersection of in contains precisely one point. There is only one point in the intersection of in that we shall have to prove. Now we consider first the figure for this. Now see, I1 is the biggest interval, and what is I1 from this? A1 comma B1, and therefore we may have this length of the I1, that this is A1 and this is B1. So I1 contains I2. What is I2? I2 is A2 B2. So A2 and B2. So this I1 contains I2, and again this contains I3, A3 B3. So in general we have In will be An and here also Bn. So An Bn is In, and that In contains In plus 1. So this will be An plus 1 and this is Bn plus 1, and this is continued. So thus this forms a nest of intervals, or you see this is I1, this is I2 and so on, this is I3 and so on. So this will be In plus 1, and again this will contain another, and this will contain the next. This continues up to infinity, as n can become n can tend to infinity, and therefore this will be of this form. So this will form a nest of a bird, and the construction is like this. And what we have to show here is, further second condition is given, as n becomes infinite, length of bn and an. So that means this will be right end is bn and left end is an, and as n becomes infinite, this length becomes very small, or its limit is 0. The length becomes 0 as n becomes infinite, and therefore the intersection of this will contain only one point, precisely one point, that is x. So x will be the point here. So that is the meaning of the theorem. Intersection of in, as n tends to n becomes 1 to infinity, will contain only one point. Precisely means exactly one point. That is the meaning of the theorem. Now we shall prove the theorem. So it is given In contains In plus 1. So we have In contains In plus 1 for each n. Each n belongs to I, and therefore we have, or from the figure we can see, A1 is less than A2 is less than A3 and so on. So in general, An is less than or equal to An plus 1, and again An plus 1 is less than or equal to Bn plus 1, and Bn plus 1 is less than or equal to Bn, and Bn plus 1 is less than or equal to bn. So this is the relation, and thus if you consider now the sequence an and bn separately, then the terms of the sequence an will be a1, a2, an and so on, and the terms of the sequence bn will be b1, b2, b3 and so on. Now an sequence is increasing, means non-decreasing, and the sequence bn is non-increasing, or actually it is decreasing. So these are the different type of sequences. Therefore the sequence an, as n takes value from 1 to infinity, is non-decreasing, or simply it is increasing, and bn is non-increasing. We are using the words non-decreasing and non-increasing because it is monotone sequence. There is less than or equal to relation between the terms. So therefore this sequence is non-increasing. Again, all the terms of both these sequences lie between a1 and b1. That means these are all the terms lie in the interval I1. I1 is a1, b1. Also, all the terms of these two sequences an and bn lie in I1, which is the interval a1 to b1, and therefore both the sequences are bounded. Therefore both an and bn are bounded. Why? Because a1 is lower bound and b1 is upper bound for both the sequences. So therefore both are bounded, and thus what we have is an is non-decreasing and bounded, therefore it must be convergent. We have proved these results earlier. A non-decreasing sequence which is bounded above is convergent. Similarly, bn is non-increasing and that is bounded below, because a1 will be lower bound for bn, and therefore both the sequences are convergent, and therefore both an and bn are convergent. Monotone and bounded sequences are convergent. These results we have studied earlier. These both are convergent means they will have a finite limit, and we suppose, therefore let limit of an we assume as x, and limit of bn we shall suppose as y. So suppose a1 a2 approaches to x and b1 b2 approaches to y, and now also we have an is less than or equal to x, because x is the limit of an. So all the terms are less than or equal to x, and y is less than or equal to bn, because bn is decreasing, so it will approach towards y. So this will approach to x and this will approach to y, that we are considering. Now what we shall prove, that x is equal to y. This will approach to x, this point, and b1 b2 bn will approach to the same point x. So that we shall show. So I shall write here. Now y minus x. Next, y minus x will be limit. You see, y is limit of bn, So it is limit Bn and x is limit An, limit of An as n tends to infinity. Or that means by the theorem on limit of sequences, this is limit n tends to infinity Bn minus An. And you see it is given to be 0 by condition B, by hypothesis B, 0. So this is by B. Theorem has two conditions or two statements here. Hypothesis, two hypotheses means given conditions A and B. We have used A first. In contains in plus 1, and now we have used B. Limit of Bn minus An is equal to 0. And what this shows, y minus x is equal to 0, and thus x is equal to y. X, we have x is y. And now from this, therefore, now you observe what we have, An is less than or equal to x and y is less than or equal to Bn, but y is same as x. Therefore, we have An is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to Bn, and this happens for all n. For all n belongs to I, positive integer. And what this means, x lies in each interval. For n is equal to 1, x is in a1, b1, n is equal to 2, x is in a2, b2, and so on. So x lies in each interval means x is the intersection of all the intervals. X is in intersection of all these intervals. Or therefore, this means x belongs to In for each n. Each n or all n belongs to I, and therefore x is in the intersection of In. X belongs to intersection of In. And you may see from the figure, if x is in this, then it is in common for every interval. So intersection of In from 1 to infinity, I1 intersection I2 intersection I3 and so on up to infinity. That is, intersection of sets contains the common points, and therefore x belongs to intersection of In. And this proves the part. But what is remaining, precisely 1 point, means exactly 1 point, and it does not contain any other point. Now next we shall consider, suppose z, which is not equal to x, is in intersection of In. Further, suppose z, which is not equal to x, belongs to intersection of In. Then if z is not equal to x, then we will have mod of z minus x is greater than 0, because these are different, means their difference is also greater than 0. And what is 0? 0 is, you see, length of In. Limit n tends to infinity, length of In. And thus, if this difference of z and x is greater than 0 and 0 is length of In, therefore z is not in In. That shows that, because if it is in In, then its length must be equal to 0, but this is not 0, and therefore z does not belongs to In. So therefore this shows that z does not belongs to intersection of In. And therefore intersection of In contains only 1 point. contains only one point, or you may consider precisely one point. It contains precisely one point. And so this proves the theorem. So we should understand what is the nested interval theorem and why it is called a nested interval theorem, because it forms a nest of a bird like this. Intervals, instead of open intervals, these are closed intervals, and therefore it is called nested interval. And the intersection of this is, as n becomes infinite, will contain only one point, and the length of in becomes 0 as n becomes infinite. So first we have shown the x is, if x is the limit of an, and that is also the limit of bn, and therefore it is in the intersection of in. And further we have shown there is no other point than x in this intersection. If you consider z is the point, then if it is different from x, its length of this interval becomes greater than 0. And therefore if it is greater than 0, it is not in in, because length of in is 0. And therefore intersection of in contains precisely one point. So this proves the theorem. Now this is the next result and the last result from last article from the sequences: limit superior and limit inferior for sequences of sets. So I have written statement of a theorem, and now we shall see what is the meaning of this theorem, and we will prove it. Let En be a sequence of subsets of S. En is a sequence and they are all subsets of S. So this sequence means E1, E2 and so on, infinite sequence again. And all these are subsets of a set S. All these lie between this set S. And let chi-n be characteristic function of En. Characteristic function we have studied in the first chapter. What is the meaning of characteristic function? It characterizes the set. Characteristic function of En means, so this is denoted by the letter chi-n, or generally it is denoted by chi, but n is the suffix used for en, so the function is also denoted by suffix n, chi-n, and the value of chi-n of x. It has only two values, either 1 or 0. When it is 1, if x belongs to the set En, and when it is 0, if x does not belongs to the set En. And En is a subset of S. So if this is En and you consider this as En, if x is inside this set or x is in En, then the value of the characteristic function is 1. And if x is outside this set En, then the value of the characteristic function is 0. So that characterizes the set. All those points which are within En or which are in En, then the characteristic function's value is 1, and outside that the value is 0. So that is the meaning of characteristic function we have studied in first chapter. And thus we should note E1, E2, En is sequence, infinite sequence, and that is a sequence of subsets of S. These are subsets of a superset S, and chi-n is characteristic function of En, and that means it is simply having two values. Chi-n of x is 1 if x is in En, and chi-n of x is 0 if x is outside En or x does not belongs to En. Then we have the first result. Limit superior of chi-n of x is equal to 1 if x belongs to En for infinitely many values of n, while limit superior of chi-n of x is 0 if x belongs to En for only a finite number of values of n. And thus here we should note what is meaning of infinitely many values of n. Infinitely many values, and again only a finite. finite number of values. So in both the cases, the limit superior of this characteristic function is it is 1 here and it is 0. And second statement is for limit inferior. Limit inferior of chi n of x is 1 if x belongs to n for all but a finite number of values of n. And again we should note what is meaning of all but a finite number of values and infinite many values of n. So earlier also we have seen the meaning here, infinitely many values of n. So n, if n is in the set of positive integer and if you consider n is even, then this statement is true for infinitely many values of n. True for infinitely many values of n, because there are infinite even numbers 2, 4, 6, 8, etc. and therefore n is even is true for infinitely many values of n, and all but finite number of values of n. So that can be considered as, suppose n is greater than 10. Now this statement is true for all but a finite number of values of n. Means it is true for all but it is not true for finite number of values of n. Now n greater than 10 is true for all values which are actually greater than 10 and not true for the values which are less than or equal to 10. That means this is true for all but a finite number of values of n. So that is the difference, infinitely many values of n and all but finite number of values of n. So what are the finite numbers here? The statement is not true. That means it is not true for n is equal to 1, 2, 3 up to 10. When n becomes greater than 10 means 11 onwards, then 11 etc., then it is true, and here it is not true. Here it is true, 11, 12 etc. And therefore it is true for all these values. These are infinite up to infinity, but there is exception of finite. All but a finite means 1 to 10 values. That is the meaning of these two conditions, infinitely many values of n and all but finite number of values of n. And further, limit inferior is 0 if there are infinitely many values of n such that x does not belongs to en. So these are the two statements in this theorem. Now we shall consider a part. So what is here? Limit superior of en is 1 if x belongs to en for infinitely many values of n. Now consider the proof. First, proof for A. If x belongs to en for infinitely many values of n, we can consider this condition: x belongs to en for then what is the characteristic function of this? Chi n of x, if we know it is either 1 or 0. When it is 1, if x belongs to n. So therefore chi n of x is 1 for infinitely many values of n. Because it is in the set, x is in en, therefore its value is 1, and thus we have LUV of this set. LUV of chi n x, chi n plus 1. Instead of Sn, we have to use chi n, Greek letter, and so on. So LUV of this set is 1, least upper bound, because infinitely many values of are 1 and therefore the least upper bound is also equal to 1 for infinitely many values of n. Or it will be 1, and therefore the limit of this, limit n tends to infinity of this LUB of this chi n plus 1 and so on up to infinity, chi n plus 2 of x, etc. So this is also equal to 1. If we take the n tends to infinity, it is true for infinitely many values of n, and thus this means limit superior, and therefore by definition limit of LUB of terms of the sequence is limit superior, and thus limit superior of chi n of x as n tends to infinity is equal to 1. So this proves this part, first part. And now we shall consider limit superior is 0 if x belongs to En only for a finite number of values of n. And we first start this condition with this condition next if x belongs to En for a finite number of n, then what this means, x is in En for only finite number of n, and that means x is not in En for infinitely many values of n. So then x does not belongs to En for infinitely many values of n. Only for finite number of values of n, x is in chi n, and therefore x is not in En. X is in En for finite number of values, therefore x is not in En for infinitely many values of n. And many values of n. And further, what this will imply? If x is not in En, then characteristic function of x will be 0. If it is in En, then its value is 1. That is a characteristic function by definition of characteristic function, either 1 or 0. And therefore, chi n of x is equal to 0 for infinitely many values of n. I shall consider this for infinitely many values of n. And therefore, again we will consider the LUB of this. And thus, what will be LUB of this set? LUB of chi n plus 1. So these values are 0 for infinite values of n, and therefore the LUB will also be equal to 0. Least upper bound will be 0. And we take the limit of this, and then the limit is also equal to 0, and thus limit superior. This means limit superior, and the limit superior will be 0. For this condition, if x is in En for finite number of values of n, and thus this completes the first part of the theorem. And now you see the second part you should try, because it is exactly similar to the first part. Inferior of limit inferior of chi n x is 1 if x, start with this, x belongs to n for all but a finite number of values of n, and therefore we will have this instead of LUB we have to consider GLB. So if it is x is in En, chi n of x will be equal to 1 for all but a finite number of values of n, and therefore the GLB of this set, you change this LUB by GLB, and that will be equal to 1, and take the limit, that is limit inferior. And similarly, if you consider if x does not belongs to En for infinitely many values of n, then chi n of x will be 0, and GLB of that is also equal to 0. So that will prove the second part. The proof of B is actually given in the book of Methods of Real Analysis by R.R. Goldberg. Try yourself, or you may refer the book. The part first we have proved, A part we have proved, and this proof was not is not given in the book, but this is given in the book. You may refer the book or try independently, and thus this proves the theorem. And this is about the chapter of sequences. So remaining part we shall continue next time. Thank you.